Hey up guys, how you doing? So it's that time of the month again. No, not that time. That time. I just thought, back in February, I'd do a video of how much it costs to run the van like for a month in January. For anybody thinking about getting into van life, oh, what's it going to cost? You know, it's a big concern, I think, and you could end up spending a lot of money. Um, Little bit of history here. The January there was the tyres because we had a blowout on the motorway. Luckily, just before I was picking up Fiona and Alba, and even though I was waiting 2.5 hours for the truck to get to me to swap the wheel out for the spare, I still managed to get there on time. Amazing. And then we got the tyres swapped. I think it was the next day at a place up in Scotland. Argyle Tyres, I think it was. They did me a really good deal on a couple of Continentals. So that was the biggest expense in January. So I was curious to see what February would bring. And luckily, there were no mechanical problems. Although the beginning of March this month, she's gone through her MOT, she's had new tyres, and the tracking needs sorting as well, and a tie rod end. They're all small jobs, but it starts adding up, of course. I already know tyres aren't cheap. So when I do March's figures in April, it's going to be an expensive month. But realistically, it's still cheaper. I mean, in January, let me just have a look here. In January, the total spend was just over £1,000. That's not a lot, really, considering with no council tax to pay, no gas, no electric, no water rates. Obviously, you've got the logistics of finding water and what have you. So let me get on with this because we had some upgrades done at Land and Sea. You can see the video review there. Did a spectacular job. If you're in the north of England, Yorkshire, Humber, even over to Lancashire, I would even travel down from Scotland to get them to do the work because his attention to detail is faultless. He even picked out a lot of errors that we'd found from the previous professional builder. So it's a good video. It's an interesting video to watch. I would suggest you watch it, especially if you're in that process of thinking about getting an electrical upgrade or doing a build. So I need a cup that says Yorkshireman Yorkshire tea or something, but that's good enough, isn't it? Right, fuel, biggest cost of the month, I think. Let me have a look. Yeah, biggest cost of the month. So fuel cost me £211.64, which isn't bad considering the previous month. What did I spend? More than double. Groceries, just shopping, etc., about £100, £100 and 90 pence. Now, admittedly, I was in Tenerife for a week, so fuel and groceries would have been slightly higher. Internet and phone, I'm kind of lumping those together. That came in at 43, although I do have other SIM cards but for other things. But for my personal phone use and the internet for the van, £43, which I don't think is bad. I'm sure there are better deals out there, but my biggest concern is coverage. I needed somebody who covered the entire country and even out in the Highlands and places like that, because we do intend travelling out there at some point when we eventually get on with the journey. Yeah, it's been a few months already. We're still planning, we're still doing things, we're dealing with logistics. So LPG, saved a fortune on LPG when we switched from propane. LPG cost 91.57. To give you an idea, propane for the month of January cost 132. So we spent 91.57 on LPG. However, the fridge is running 24/7 on gas. The heating was running almost every day. Not all day, every day, but almost, because I'm spending a lot of time in the van. Obviously, if I go out, I'm doing meetings, whatever, or walking, then the heating's off. And the only other expense or expenses were campsites. That was £50. And the reason why is because I wanted to run the lithium down, the Fogstar down to about 15-20% and then charge it back up. However, it's an 8 kilowatt battery and the campsite was only giving 4 kilowatts a day. So obviously I had to pay for 2 days to charge it up before I went down to Yorkshire. And interestingly enough, this is why I'm suggesting you see Land and Sea if you want any work doing, because Martin identified a problem with the Orion. It wasn't giving me 50 amps as it should, and it wasn't a problem with the settings, it wasn't a problem with the connection from the battery to the Orion, although the previous installer did use an old piece of cable that was under the seat. Why? Use new cable. You can tell when you bend it, it's brittle, it's old, it needs changing. But the main reason why was the termination into the Orion XS was bad, and that's why I was only getting 30 amps. Now 50 amps. So that 8 kilowatt battery gets charged up a lot quicker. I think I'm running at about 90% at the moment. I was at 68 yesterday, and all I've done is I've driven between a couple of towns and done a little bit of shopping and things like that, visiting friends. I've got to go visit a friend later today, but it's so nice to be able to just charge on a short run. Now at some point we will sort out the solar on the roof because we've only got 150 watts, but I think 50 quid for campsites, 2 nights, £25 a night, not bad. I'm a Yorkshireman, I really don't want to be spending money on campsites. So that was right at the beginning of February, actually, 1st of February, 2nd of February, and the van hasn't been on hookup since, and we're in March. I'm a happy bunny. What are the other costs? The only other cost really is laundry, £21. I did do a wash at a friend's. I mean, it'd be rude to say no, wouldn't it, if somebody's offering you to let you use the washing machine. So the total cost for the month, £518.11, and I reckon I could get that down a bit further. It's like a personal challenge. I'm a Yorkshireman, so I always want to try and save money. I mean, obviously the fuel cost could come down, I just don't move, but then if you're not moving, there's only so much you can do in an area, in my opinion. Like Calverley Bridge, for example, is a really nice place, and I park up there and I walk along the canal near Elland. That's also really nice. I've still to explore around the town, actually, but I'd say after maybe a few days, a week at the most, it's time to move on, explore another area. Can't really save money on groceries. I mean, £100 for the week. Internet I can't save on. LPG probably, use the heating a little bit less. Campsites definitely. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, March we don't see a single campsite. Not that I don't like them, I just begrudge paying and being static. I was thinking that possibly I might need a campsite when I was moving data from one hard drive to another and using the other laptop, and I could see the battery capacity going down a lot. I was drawing a lot of power, and I was running the air fryer as well. But because Martin sorted out the Orion XS, I'm getting 50 amps when I drive. So literally an hour, 2 hour driving, that's it. It tops up the charge in the battery. So I would say £518 for the month, not bad. March is going to be an expensive month. I've already spent something like £600 on parts, tyres, this and that, and I've got to finish a few things off, and then I'm heading up to Scotland. I can't drive up to Scotland because the tracking's out. It'll just It's really bad. It needs fixing. I saw the tyres that came off. They were bad. How I didn't realise, I don't know. I felt them and everything, and I'd looked at them visually, they looked fine, but once we got them off the van and replaced them, it was obvious they were due for change. I would be interested, if you have a van, especially if you live full time, what it costs you. What it costs you a month. I don't need a breakdown, but it'd be interesting to see how much you spend, even a rough figure, because most people seem to be spending between the 500 and the £800 mark. I have seen videos on YouTube of people saying, I lived in my van for a month for £25. What, didn't you eat? Didn't you wash? I'd be concerned if somebody was living that frugally. I'd probably keep my distance and put a peg on my nose. So any questions, drop them in the comments, guys. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.